Hey everybody, what's up? We are back with another stock analysis. Today we'll be looking into Robinhood. So I have covered Robinhood before. They're one of my favorite companies. They're in my own personal portfolio, and they have been on a historic run over the past couple months. Their stock price has been blowing up. So we are going to check out the financials, look into some stuff. I'll give a valuation. I'll go into the earnings a little bit, as well as going over their chart as well. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe. I make these videos every day of the week, and let's get into Robinhood. So getting into Robinhood, I think most people are familiar with the company, but just in case you're not, financial services platform. They have the app where you trade stocks and cryptocurrency, things like that. And also they recently have things like debit card services, as well as I believe they have an IRA now as well. So I personally love the company. I've never had a problem with the app. I think they run it excellently. It's very easy to use. And one thing I will say is you could see 2024 was a massive year for them. So net cumulative funded accounts have risen by just about a million over the course of the year. Average revenue per user, which is probably the most important one, has increased massively, especially in the final quarter of the year here, seeing almost $150 per user. I don't know what AUC EOP means, but it is increasing, which is probably good. Monthly active users, we are looking at roughly actually decreasing over the year. We saw a slight increase in the last quarter, but overall decreasing. However, just to go off of that, the net funded accounts is increasing. So people aren't using it every month, but they do have more users. However, I feel like monthly active users is a bit more important, obviously. But anyway, operating expenses and brokerage and transaction costs are increasing. Operating expenses for tech and development are also actually just about decreasing in the final quarter, but overall staying just about in line. And other than that, let's go into the actual company now. So market cap is at 46 billion, which is huge for this company. And actually, if we just go into their chart really quickly, we could see this has been a massive run recently. They have really just been taking off. And I was a little surprised by it, but at the same time, I feel like the value for this company has been here for a while. Um, I think I originally bought their stock right around $8 or $9 a share, somewhere in the bottom here, and I sold it. I don't know when, possibly around 2023 or early 2024, for like a 40% profit. And since then, they have been basically only going up. I rebought back in at the dip right here at the beginning of November. And since then, I am up basically double where I am now, which is awesome. Um, and honestly, I feel like there is so much more potential here for the company that it would kind of shock me to see it go down any significant amount within the next couple months unless something fairly negative happens. They do have an earnings report coming up on February 12th, so definitely something to look out for. But anyway, let's get back into the actual company. Target price is at $50 a share, which is pretty good. Long-term growth rate is triple digits, which is like the highest we've seen in a while. So even with the stock price being up so high like it is right now, their target price is still right in line with what we are at the moment. So there is clearly some value that is being recognized there at the very least, which is a fairly positive thing. Unfortunately, we don't have too much for the growth summary here. It's overall positive, negative free cash flow, which is mostly fine, but don't really have too much information here, although positive sales growth is always good to see. So either way. Other than that, let's get into their financials now. I'm going to try to go through these quickly so we can get into a valuation and look at their earnings. And we will be looking at the years because I think they might have 2024 here, which they do. Only the first 3 quarters of the year, though. So you can see they have had enormous sales growth over the past 2 years. After a dip in 2022, they are now very much at an all-time high in sales. Operating income is also positive for the first time, and net income is equally positive for the first time. So, I mean, you could include 2020 here, but they only made very, very little amounts. And I believe it was just because of no like taxes or anything. I'm not really sure, but anyway, you can see they have done very well in the past year. Their total shares have actually decreased over the past year as well, which is a little shock. Oh, actually, we don't have the full year yet. So they are currently lower, although we don't know for certain. But overall, they're profitable. They are in an operating profit now as well, and it looks very solid. Onto the balance sheet. So what we're looking for is assets growing massively. And we can see they extremely are. And that's actually just 2023. We can go to the quarters for this because it's just cumulative values. So overall, it looks like their assets are over 40 billion now, which is awesome. This should be, I think it's 40 billion. And yes, it is. So over 40 billion consistently. Saw a little bit of a drop since the beginning of the year, but that is no big deal. They have a very large amount of cash, although their total debt is also fairly high. And actually, this is all of their debt combined. So they don't actually, looking into it one more time, got to use my eyes here. They have very little long term debt, a lot of short term debt. So overall, not too bad here. They do have enough cash to fairly comfortably cover most of their debt. And considering they have very little or basically no long term at all, that is not too bad. So overall, looks fairly good here. That's all I really have. Going into the cash flows, let's see what we are working with. So operating cash flows, we can see they have been on and off positive over the past few years, but overall, we are seeing the largest positive they've ever had in the past quarter, which is fantastic. There is a little bit of actually, I was going to say there's a little bit of seasonality here, but it's all in different quarters, so there really isn't. But overall, it looks fairly good. Hopefully, they can get some consistently positive quarters with that. I think that'd probably be one of the better things to see for this company in the short term. But overall, investing activities looks fairly solid. They are clearly purchasing some investments, although not a lot. And there is a little bit of selling as well, although again, not very much. So not too much happening here as a whole. You can see that very large amount of short-term debt being issued here. Stock is being diluted very slightly, although again, they have actually repurchased more in 2024. So then they have issued, which is good. Other than that, not too much else here. Financing cash flow has been positive for the past 4 quarters, which isn't great. We actually want to see that be negative. So not fantastic, but overall not bad either. Free cash flow, like operating, is on and off, positive, negative, but the last quarter saw their largest positive free cash flow ever. So hopefully we can get some momentum from this. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, it looks fairly solid. Let's go into their segment history. They don't have 2024 yet, unfortunately, but we can see how much their sales have grown at the very least. And actually, what I'm looking at here is 2021, they had just as much sales. Let's go back to the income statement and just make sure of that. So, okay, that is, that's only including 2023. That makes more sense. They have much more sales now. So this actually isn't the best thing to look at. So let's go into the ratios. So looking at their ratios when it wants to load, we could see, I will stick to, I can't. No 2024. Got to go to the quarters. So over the past couple quarters, gross margin has grown to 93, and you could see just how much their margins have increased over the past couple years very consistently. Actually, every single quarter we have been seeing an increase from what I could see here. And yeah, every single quarter we have seen an increase in the past 2 years with their gross margin. SGA to sales has also been consistently decreasing. And actually, once again, one inconsistency, never mind. But almost every quarter, they're decreasing their SGA, which is awesome. Their operating margin has been turning increasingly positive. Same thing with their net margin, increasingly positive, which is fantastic growth for the company. This is what is driving all of this stock growth over the past few quarters. You could see last earnings report right here. Last one and second to last one were those past 2 quarters where they went positive. And since then, almost entirely up, other than a couple drops. but overall consistently upwards, which is fantastic. And that is almost entirely because of this profitability coming around for the company. One last thing, their debt to equity. So although they do have a decent, oh, you know what, total debt to equity, which we can see right here, is fairly high. So their long-term debt is almost nothing, but their total debt compared to the equity is fairly high and has been increasing overall every single quarter. So hopefully they can get that under control. I don't think it is too concerning at the moment just based on where their cash position is, but overall that is something that has to be considered at the very least within the next couple quarters, I would say, just now that it is well over 100%, but overall, no big deal. So now let's go into a valuation for the company. So I will be doing this based off of, it looks like we have traditional brokers as well as named competitors. So I'll try to do both. So Robinhood, just based on where their stock price is, they are compared to their sector, very overvalued. So we could see here 40.23 on average, 20.5 median. So let's put that in 40.23, 20.5. And that gives a valuation of 1761 a share. So compared to that sector, they are very much overvalued. Let's take a look at named competitors, see if we have anything different here. And unfortunately, we don't have a crazy amount of named competitors at all. I was thinking companies like SoFi, things like that, but it seems like they don't want to give that to me here. So overall, compared to that sector, they are very much overvalued, which does kind of make sense. I don't think their earnings have fully caught up to their valuation yet, especially at this high of a price. But I do think the potential earnings that we can see from that are definitely there. They have been massively raking in money from crypto recently. So um, I don't get into crypto myself, but with how many people do, I think their earnings will only be increasing from that. And it could be a huge thing for them in the near future, which is how much money they make from that compared to just regular stock trading. Also, I feel like options trading has gotten a lot more popular recently, and they make a lot of money from that as well. So, overall, I think there are only good things in the future for the company. And now let's get into a little bit of an earnings recap. So, this will be some of what I was talking about. Transaction based actually came in a little bit under estimates. Options came in under. Crypto came in under as well. So I am just completely wrong in the last quarter, apparently. Net interest came in under as well, and other income came in slightly over. So funded customers increased 4.3% year over year. Monthly active users increased 6.8% year over year. Um, I wish I knew what AUC meant, but they saw an enormous increase, which is, possibly assets under control, possibly. Seeing a huge increase year over year, and then average revenue per user, again, seeing a massive increase year over year. So these numbers specifically are what we are seeing outperform so massively. That is another big thing with their stock price, why it is being driven upwards so much. And other than that, we don't have customer data, unfortunately, or analyst data, but we do have a couple specific things for the company. So we can see their November operating data. Let's see if there's anything specific here. So up 420,000 month over month funded customers. That is kind of crazy. Up 1.5 million year over year. Oh, assets under custody is the thing for AUC. So 195 billion at the end of November, up 22% from the past month and up 106% year over year. So that is enormous increases. Options contracts were down, actually up 63% year over year, which is what I'm going to focus on. And crypto trading volumes were up 500% month over month and 700% year over year. That is insane numbers. So honestly, their fourth quarter report might possibly just break this stock price even more than what we're already seeing. I mean, their fourth quarter is going to be crazy just based on those numbers that we were seeing. Crypto, they earn so much money on. Also, margin balances are up 10% and 100% year over year. That's insane. And total cash sweep is up 74%. securities lending revenue is also up 109% year over year. So the growth here is unprecedented. Basically, I'm going to keep glazing the company, and I am an investor in the company. But me seeing this just makes me feel so much better about being an investor. Everything looks fantastic. So overall, I think that's all I have for Robinhood. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. I will see everybody in the next video.